This is my green room. As you can see, my rider was to have bags of shit and half-eaten sandwiches everywhere. This is where all comedy starts, anyway. Oh yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please put your hands together? Welcome to the stage, Miss Diane Spencer!
Thank you so much for coming to my show. It's lovely to see you all. Just before I begin, I say things and people take offense. And none was on offer. That's stealing. So if anybody decides to yell at me, "Madam, you're disgusting," be prepared. I will say to you, but you are a thief. So in saying that, welcome to my show, Exquisite Bad Taste. I know that's the title. Let's begin. I wank too much. I wank so much. I'm getting this thing that I now call prune tip. You know, like, I've only been going 3 minutes. It looks like I've been in the bath for 4 hours. I learnt this off the burlesque ladies. Basically, you can do any old horrible shit as long as you chuck some glitter on it. We're running out. I said to my mum, so that's it. She said, "Is that how you're starting the show? With I wank too much?" I said, "I've got glitter." She said, "Yeah, but you don't wank." I said, "Well, what am I doing?" "No, not at that moment." And I'm looking at her going, "Mum, what's this? It's really fun. I'm going to start the show with it." No, she said, "You don't wank. You're a lady." She said, "If you have a penis, you wank." The train conductor looked round, optimistically. "If you have a Sorry. If you have a vagina, you masturbate." I said, "It sounds very shameful." She said, "If you're a lady, it is." I said, "Wouldn't it be nice if somebody created something like a cloth, just a big black cloth that I could just chuck on myself so nobody would know what I was doing underneath?" Yes, that's what I think they're doing under the burqas. I know I would be. I'd be just rubbing away. Just going, "Yeah, no, you walk 10 paces ahead. Stay upwind." I'd zone in and out, do you know what I mean? I'd be like, "What, honey? Something about 72 virgins. Sounds fantastic. Go for it." I don't think a burqa would impede me either. I am the worst gardener on the planet. When I try to masturbate, it's like trying to claw through a wicker basket. You know? I sit down to pee, it makes a noise like Velcro ripping. It's okay. I've had complaints. I got naked in front of a guy and ta-da! That's how we do it in showbiz. Yeah. Ta-da! Oh shit. And his reaction was mixed. He sort of went, that's 3D. I said, "Just pretend you're a celebrity. Just come up the red carpet." What I did once was I let it grow really long, like to what I would call an angry length. And then I wore my jeans, but I didn't wear any knickers. And I unzipped my flies and I pulled through as much as I could. So I was quite normal, apart from this little red poof. And then I got some hair cream. I had a plan. And I shaped it, because what I wanted to make was, I wanted like a hand. But because of the way hair twists, I kind of ended up with this little, like, ginger claw, like that. And I thought, that'll do. So I walk into the lounge, and the boyfriend of the day, he's sat on the sofa watching telly. So I kind of walk in, and I sit next to him, and he goes, oh, hello. And he's watching, and I'm waiting. And then I hear it, and he just goes, oh! He goes, what have you done? And I just went, what? Ah! She wants you. Take her hand, see where she leads you. And yeah, we didn't have sex for months. So I've been wanking so much. I wanked so much. God, my vibrator died. Oh, that's so nice. You all express such sympathy for an inanimate object. Oh, it did, yeah. I mean, and he was quite short when he died as well. He started off 6 inches. I wore him down to a nub. He just shrunk as he got older. And the problem is that when something dies with batteries, it kind of died halfway through. Like, I was, and I had all my porn planned. I wasn't going to peak until, like, the next 5 minutes, and it just died. And I was like, and when that happens, you can't do anything else. Because you look horrified. You can't do anything else because your clitoris just kind of goes, and you're like, I can't think, I can't do anything. You kind of go a bit wank blind, and you can't really see anything much beyond here. And it's like your clitoris is a doorbell, but a doorbell being pushed by a deaf kid. And like, no matter what you do, you go, I'm coming in a minute! And in the end, to get batteries, I had to smash a torch. I've always been like this. In the year 2000, I want to tell you a story now. In the year 2000, I was at university, and we had a Halloween party. This may be significant because this lady I went to university with. Now, in the year 2000, yes, as a student, we had a Halloween party, and I went dressed as a ghost, which is a simple costume in that I wore just one of my spare wedding dresses. If you're a lady and you don't have spare wedding dresses, get some, because then all you do is you go into any posh hotel in town and start crying in the bar. You don't buy a drink all evening. So I turned up with my little white wedding dress on, and I thought, well, you need a method of death, all ghosts do. So I decided to make a noose, and I turned up to this party as ghost dead by hanging. And as I walked in, some people said, oh, wow, I love your costume, that's a bit edgy. And I was like, is it? Like, really? And then other people were kind of going, oh my God, that's really poor, that's really bad taste, that's offensive. And I thought, what is it? And then I heard one of the people say, Diane's come as Paula Yates. Paula Yates was a television personality who had died very close to Halloween. Now, the worst thing is, they'd got it wrong. She died through heroin overdose because her boyfriend had died through hanging because he was having an asphyxie wank, in that he was kind of yanking on both ends, So I now ran around this party, dressed with my noose, going, hi gang, I'm not Paula Yates. Which doesn't work, does it? No. So then, a couple of weeks later, we had another party coming up, and it was a bad taste party. And I was on probation. And my friend pulled me aside and said, Di, don't take this the wrong way, but we're going to shop for your costume together, because you are not Paula Yatesing my party. I thought dressing up as a dead woman was less offensive than using her name as a verb. Hey kids, don't drink and swim. You don't want to Whitney Houston a pool. Make sure you burn Grandad's diaries. We don't want it to Jimmy Savile him. We had squatters the other week. They really Anne Franked my attic. So I said, okay, fine. And we went shopping. What did we buy? We bought Hawaiian shirts and cycling shorts, because when you wear them together, you've got bad taste. I thought this was pathetic. So I wanted to rebel, and I had a friend who had lots of tattoos, or as he liked to call them, tattoos. And I said, I want to rebel. And he said, get your tongue pierced. And I said, yeah. And he said, I'm going to get a new tattoo anyway, so we'll go together. I was like, yeah. So we put on it was the day of the party. We get our Hawaiian shirts, we get our cycling shorts. Yeah. And we go to the piercers. And the lady says, hello. And she says, now, here we don't believe in anaesthetic. I said, I assure you, madam, it exists. She said, no, we don't believe in using it for a tongue piercing. So I look at the guy who I've come with, and he's covered in tattoos. So I say, is this going to hurt? And he goes, God, you got to be rebellious, yeah? Just rebel, right? I mean, look at me, yeah? I mean, look at this tattoo, yeah? Right? Look at a koala, yeah? Look at a koala, now look at the koala's wings. The wings on the koala. Yeah, look at the koala's wings, yeah? Now look on his wing, right? Look at the Chinese symbol for peace, yeah? Do you get it? I was like a meerkat looking at a magic eye puzzle. And he said, my tattoo has got a tattoo. I just looked at the piercer and I said, this man's talking rubbish. Just do it, please. He said, Now... On the internet, I've seen a video of a masturbating monkey. Good start. And it's quite funny because he's kind of there wanking away. And then he sees a frog. Now, some of you, I can hear, have seen this. He sees little froggy. Let me describe it to those of you who have been saved from this. He sees little froggy, and the monkey kind of looks at the frog, and he sort of just walks over and picks up the little froggy. Now, the froggy is like, Jesus, man, I know what you were doing with that hand. What the fuck? And the monkey just kind of looks at the frog and look at the frog's mouth, and he thinks, that'll do it. And little froggy is just speared with monkey dick, and monkey dick is about this big, and froggy is about this big. And poor little froggy is death raped by the monkey, and then when monkey's finished, monkey throws little froggy into the corner like a dead used jizz sock. Now, when that lady pierced my tongue without anaesthetic, I know how the frog felt. I was lying there just bleeding and dribbling, like, and she said, are you okay? And I said, no. And she said, oh yes, sorry, I forgot to mention, you won't be able to talk for a week. I wish you had told me. Never mind. So we go to the pub. Now, have you ever been to the pub with somebody who already talks rubbish and then you can only listen? I was sat next to this guy covered in his tattoos, and he just kept talking about them, and no matter what he was talking about, it went back to his tattoos and how rebellious he was. I thought, that's not rebellious just because you've got tattoos, is it, really? Why don't you do something rebellious? Run into Gatwick wearing a balaclava. Set off a foghorn in a nursery. When you see a charity mugger come down the street, if you want to be rebellious, when they go, hi gang, hi, just 2 minutes gang, because the crops in Africa, they're dying, yeah gang, yeah? When they do that to you, if you want to rebel, just drop your trousers, drop your pants and shit. Just, even if there's not one baked, just go, just hang on to his cagoule, don't leave me! And then when you finish, just... I think you'll find this will fertilize many crops in Africa. It's for you. All you have to do is pick it up and post it. These are the thoughts I had when this man's just talking about his tattoos. And I just thought, it's not rebellious what you've done, because to get a tattoo, you have to sit still for a start, don't you? You have to sit still in a beautician's chair. That's what a tattooist is. It's a beautician who you hope can spell. You don't want to be the person walking out with a heavenly tattoo that says angle. Or worse, no regrets. And the more he went on about it, the more I thought, he's not rebellious at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love tattoos. I would like one, but the problem is I want a big one. I want one that connects every single part of my body, because in the event that I am blown up, which, let's face it, doing a show about wanking in a burqa, maybe! Everybody sitting comfortably. In the event that I am blown up, I would just like to put a smile on the poor forensic lady. She's going to spend all day piecing us together. I mean, look how many of us there are. And, I would just like it if I had just one big thing. So then she's there pulling me out of the rubbish. We're like, wait a minute, there's a pattern. Give me that arm. Oh, look, it's 3 kittens in a basket. I just want to brighten somebody's day, you know? I mean, I thought I could have 2 levels of difficulty. So in the mortuary, they could really have some fun, you know? They could be like, oh, Simon's coming, jumble her up. All right. Terry did it in 7 seconds. Oh no, that's a leg. I'm so Don't know. Ta-da! That was really hard. I mean, why the fuck would a koala have wings? They just brighten somebody's day. But this guy, it was all about rebellion, you know, all about rebellion. And I thought, he's not rebelled. It's just that, unfortunately, he's used his tattoos as an excuse, you know. His personality is so dull, he's just had to colour himself in. And at that point, I suddenly realised what a paradox I was, because I was sat there with my tongue piercing, trying to be rebellious. Really? And also I was wearing a Hawaiian shirt to go to a bad taste party. That's cultural snobbery. It's not bad taste. It's saying, oh, don't they look shit on Hawaii? Rude. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to do this, I want my bad taste to be offensive to everybody. So I went home and I changed my costume. And I turned up at the party, and it said bad taste on the door, and you kind of walk in and everyone's in Hawaiian shirts and people are spinning around and stuff. And, you know, they're doing the broom handle stuff and they're all drunk. I mean, like in England, that's a bad taste party. In Hawaii, this is a mildly out of control christening. And I've turned up wearing my costume, which is pajamas. I've got a teddy bear and I've drawn on a black eye. And straight away my friend sees me and she runs straight over and she says, okay, number 1, because when people are pissed off, they make lists. Number 1, where the fuck is your Hawaiian shirt? Number 2, what the fuck are you? And I had to slur the answer, which was, I'm an abused child. Okay, number 3, what the fuck is your voice? I went, oh, hi. She went, your costume doesn't even make sense. What kind of parent would pierce the tongue of their child? I just went for broke. I said, Paula Yates. Oh, thank you. You're allowed. Just as a side note, Anna, who I went to university with, is this true?
It is absolutely
I do love kids, though. I absolutely love kids. But we all grew up together, and my friend who ran the party, she became very responsible, and she's had a child, and I haven't, as you can tell. That's what I think it happens. And it's quite nice, though, because I still get to babysit for her little boy, and because I'm the inappropriate one, I sometimes play up to that. Like, you know when a child walks up to you, like he's 7, and you know when a little child walks up to you and they say, "Oh my God, this is happening," and you go, "Is it?" And you know it's rubbish, you know, like, "Oh, there's cowboys on the lawn," and you kind of go, "Oh, is it really? Oh, okay." You know, some people just brush them off and they go, "No, that's nice, go play." If a child ever runs up to you with an idea, please just say yes. Just give that to them. They're going to grow up at some point. If a child... I love it, because I was babysitting for him, so I was there, kind of there, and I'd sent him to bed, you know, and I was there making coffee. And suddenly he runs in my room in his little pyjamas, and he goes, "Die, die, die, die." And I said, "Whoa, whoa." And he goes, "I think there's a monster in my room." And I said, "Oh my God, how big is it?" And he said, "I don't know, I didn't see it." I said, "Oh my God, okay, well, if it's small, maybe we can smack it with a broom. But if it's big, I don't know what we're gonna do. Does your mum have any guns?" "I don't know." I said, look, I've got an idea. You go back in. Take a bit of paper, sketch it, just draw it, so we can see what it looks like." I said, "I don't want to go in there, it's dark." And I said, "Oh, here, take a torch." And he went, "This torch doesn't have any battery." I was like, "Not that torch, give me the torch back. Not that torch, not for you. Just did you shut the door?" "No." "Ah!" And 6 hours later, we were still awake. And we were awake, and we were sat there on the sofa, and we were wearing saucepans. Well, I had a colander, he had a saucepan. And we were doing what I would call field research, in that we were watching Alien. So we're watching, and I said to him, "So now you've seen this..." I said to him, "So now you've seen this documentary, how big do you think the monster in your room is?" And he said, "Well, I think it's bigger when it comes out of the man's chest. But it's not as big as when it gets the man in the air duct." I said, "Right, well, I'd say the size of a dog, really. I mean, we've got a scale we can work with now. I think that's broomable. What do you reckon?" And then his mum comes in, and she sort of walks in, and she sees us, saucepans, telly. She said, "Okay, number 1, why is he still awake? Number 2, what are the saucepans? Number 3, what is that on the telly?" And he pipes, so he goes, "There's a monster in my room, and Auntie Di says it's as big as a dog, and we're watching a documentary called Alien." And she said, "Really? Well, I've been in your room." I said, "Your mummy is so brave." "I've been in your room, there isn't a monster, take the saucepan off your head and go to bed." So he gets up and kind of pads out the room. I was like, "Don't leave me with her." And she said, "What the fuck, Di? What the fuck?" I said, "I could ask you the same thing. You left us here with monsters and no guns. How am I supposed to protect your child?" She said, "Diane, when a child says, 'There's a monster under my bed,' you say, 'Monsters don't exist.'" I said, "How do you know?" "I've seen a monkey death rape a frog. I think anything's possible. Besides, it's not like he was going to go to bed. He'd had 3 lattes. All over the place. Do you know how much sugar that child puts in his coffee? You should have words." I do love that little boy especially as well, actually, because when he came out, he came out ginger. Yeah. And she's not ginger, and he's not ginger, and the baby came out ginger, and I looked at the father and I went, "Yes, it's true, I've been fingering your wife." And I get to... One day, though, she called me round. She said, Di, I need you to come round. And so I went round and I said... And she said, he's in his room and he's crying. So I went in and he sat on his little bed, his little ginger head. Like. And I said, what's going on? And he said, I want to change my hair. I said, you want to change your hair? I want to change my hair and I want to move away. I want to move away to where nobody knows me. I said, okay. Why? I've been bullied at school. I said, thank God for that. I thought you'd killed someone. Oh, okay. Bullying we can deal with. What did the bully say? He said, Giga. It's quite a bulletproof argument, really, isn't it? I said, are you okay? And he said, why am I ginger? And I said, well, because when you were conceived, you're made of genes and chromosomes, and there was a mutation on chromosome 16. It's called the melanocortin 1 receptor. It means you produce lots of pheomelanin and no eumelanin, capiche? I was like, I could see I was trying to wipe away the tears of frustration with the sponge of confusion. So I said, would you like me to simplify? He said, yeah. I said, okay. When you were made, you know how babies grow in mummies' tummies? Yeah. Well, your mummy fell asleep and a witch snuck in her room and sneezed up her fanny. And the next day, you came out ginger. Do I have a soul? That's a bit of a big question. When you stand in front of an automatic door, does it sometimes not open? Yeah. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. My little friend has reached that point in his life where his mum is saying, monsters don't exist! But his friends are saying, gingers have no soul. And the one person who's supposed to be able to sort that out, Auntie Di, who does hunt monsters. What am I saying? I don't know, some pervy witch with hay fever. It's a confusing time. I didn't know what to say to him. You're ginger. Welcome to the rest of your life. You're going to be stood on a street corner and a van will go past and you'll hear, Ginger! And all you can do is go, yeah. That's me. Whoa. Eagle-eye. But the problem is we have quite a lot of gingerism here in the UK, and they're quite creative. They don't just call you ginger anymore. No, they call you things like tango pants, rust bucket. Once I heard, all right, sugar cubes. I thought, that can't be me. That can't be me. Sugar cubes. I was like, no. And it was, because it was Cockney rhyming slang. Sugar cubes, ginger pubes. That's what happens when you encourage literacy among builders. I was in a bar and a man came up to me and he said, can I get you a drink, Eminem? I was like, Eminem? Eminem is a rapper from America. I was like, I look nothing like him. And he said, no, M and M, marmalade minge. Now, I wanted nothing to do with this person, so I put him off straight away. I just said, oh my God, you must be psychic, because it is sweet and really chunky. I'm always picking peel off that thing. This has travelled. I went to Australia, and the Australians have two words for ginger people. One is bluey. Does anyone else know the popular Australian word for a ginger person? It begins with R. If you know it, yell it.
Ranger!
Yes! And I love the way you went, Ranger! It was lovely. Yes, so you'll stand on a street corner and a van will go past, well, pickup will go past and he'll, Ranger! And you go. Ranger being an abbreviation of the word orangutan. Yes, Australia, because calling a human being a monkey based on their colour, no, Australia, that's fine. I was in Sydney and I could see, multiculturalism at its best. And I thought, why do they say the Australians are racist? Why do they say the Australians treat people on how they look? Then I walked past a pub. And the pub had an events board, and it was like Monday, quiz night, Tuesday, karaoke night, Wednesday, bring a ranger night. And the guy who I was with said, oh, we can go! We can go, I've never been able to go before. And I was like, okay, great, but if we go to this bring a ginger night, do I get to hang out with you and the other, I don't know what to call you now, what do I call you, muggles? Do I get to hang out with you, or do I get put in some kind of ranger-only enclosure? Maybe I get to pick fleas off the other rangers. Maybe there's a tyre swing. I was like, this is Australia, dear God, let it be in the shade. I turned up. I went, but I went by myself because on the poster it said, if you bring a ranger to the bar, get a free bowl of chips. In Australia, I'm swappable for food. And so I went, curious but ashamed, which is how most of my sexual experiences start. And as I approached, I could see all the ginger people inside. I was like, oh my God, my people, I'm here. And then the bouncer just went, hang on. And I was like, no, it's my night. No, that's not it. It's bring a ranger night. You're just a ranger. You can bring a ranger, you can do that too, or you've got to be brung. I was the social equivalent of a guide dog in that I was not allowed inside a pub unless a human being led me in. Sometimes people ask questions. They say, is gingerism as bad as racism? Now, I love this question. I have a friend who is so desperate to be middle class, she's losing her opinion. Like, her opinion comes from the paper. Whatever the paper says, she agrees with, She only buys things on brand, and I still love her, but it means I can really wind her up quite easily. And so we'll be in her kitchen, we'll be in her big Habitat kitchen, and she'll be cooking from one of those recipe books, like Nigella, or Jamie, or Heston Bloomdentoe. And she'll have a big creosote pot, and she'll be putting in all the posh ingredients, like eggs, like little eggs, like eggs and beads and twigs and leaves. And she's always spooning in this stuff, this crème fraîche. It's yogurt. She's always spooning crème fraîche. She's always spooning in this yogurt, and she's there kind of like some middle-class witch. And I'll kind of sit there and I'll say, oh, I got called ginger again today. And she'll go, oh my God, I can't believe people still do this. Oh, broken Britain. Yeah. And he was wearing a hoodie. A hoodie? Oh my God, I bet he's illiterate. I bet he can't read. I bet he's one of those people who burnt down Clapham. Oh my God, I bet he's an asylum seeker. How dare he? Yeah. And he had a limp. A limp? Oh my God, I bet he's got scurvy. He doesn't get his 5 a day. I bet his mother's so fat they had to cut her out of her council house. Oh my God, I can't believe this diseased, illiterate criminal would judge you on your appearance. And he was black. Oh, well, maybe he was having a bad day. Don't judge people, Diane. Just pass me the crème fraîche. Is gingerism as bad as racism? Sometimes it gets as far as the paper, which is quite exciting. But the weird thing is that, you see, what will happen is that a ginger person will have enough and they'll hurl themselves off a cliff, which, as we all know, doesn't kill a ginger. But when this appears in the paper, if you ever see it, you'll notice that they always use the same photographs It's as if they're concerned the general populace has forgotten what a ginger person is. So it'll say, is gingerism as bad as racism? And then it'll have a picture of Mick Hucknall, Ginger Spice, Orphan Annie, and the endangered red squirrel of the British Isles. Now, the inclusion of the animal has negated the question. It's now no longer, is gingerism as bad as racism? It's now, gingers, are they people? And they always have this glib comment about the ginger gene dying out. It doesn't die out, no. It's just recessive. It hides. And there are people who are carriers and do not know that they are carriers. And when two muggles have sex, you roll a ginger dice. That's what happened to my parents. Brunette, meh. I would love to be in the maternity ward when that happened. Just that whole kind of, come on, sweetie, okay. As I said, not had given birth, no idea. I just go, poof, got it. Hooray, it's a, What is it? I'm just going to clean it. I'm just going to wash the baby's head. Just wash the baby's head. There we go. Just going to wash the Oh, that's not coming off. Okay. No, is it okay? Is it okay? Just tell me. All my organs are on the floor. Tell me. Oh, it's... Did him. Yep. There's no more in there? I've turned inside out. No, there's no more in there. Okay, just... Well done on the legs and you got the rest of it. I mean, Your grandmother is Irish. You listen to Simply Red! And in the background, there's a witch. No, it's not going to die out. Is gingerism as bad as racism? No. It's not. I have a brown friend. Racism's worse. The thing is, though, is that we get picked on, but we have no culture to kind of immerse ourselves in or protect ourselves with. Like, in the Bible, there's not a ginger prophet who walked, led the people through the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, because on day one, we would have all incinerated. The closest thing that we have is a trick. It's a trick. When you go onto a porn site and at the top, with all the videos, you have all the tabs. Okay. What was lovely about that question was that some of you looked at me as if to say, yes, I know about the porn websites, I know about the tabs, keep going. But some of you looked at me with beautiful Bambi eyes and went, really? They have tabs? I didn't realise perverts were that organised. I thought they just rolled around wanking. I was like, you pop it. I was shocked to find out they do everything. They learn HTML. There's a redhead tab, and if you click on it, you see all the ginger people bonking. But what I've discovered about ginger people, which is quite unique to us, well, us and the albinos, but they're not exactly a power group, is that when you shoot your load on a ginger person, we are so pale, fuck knows where it's gone. I have had this problem. I have been lying there, presumably covered in the stuff, and I have had one tissue, and I have said to the boyfriend of the day, look, you're going to need to help because I don't know where it is, and if I roll, your bed is ruined. And once, this chap who went, shall I get the lamp? I was like, what lamp? And he said, I've got a UV lamp. If I shine it on you, you'll shine like CSI. And I was like, I'm a ginger person, and you want to shine a UV lamp onto my naked body? Oh yeah, bright idea, genius, if all you want on your bed is just ash and spunk. I enjoy watching those videos. Do you know what my favourites are? My favourites of the porn videos are the oral sex ones. And I think it's amazing. I saw this lady once and she impressed me so much. I mean, bear in mind, it's her career, and she was trying bloody hard. She was like, ah! Like that. It was like, wow, go bitch! And you couldn't help but be enthused by her, appetite for her work. And But when I kind of saw this, I thought, my God, it's basically just cannibalism, almost what she's doing. Now, I wrote a joke once that was, I've got this new boyfriend, and I'm dating him for a special reason. I'm dating him because he's a musician, and I want to get better at music. But I'm not getting any better at music, no matter how much of his DNA I swallow. But I've thought about that since. I thought about that when I saw this woman. Ha! And I thought, wouldn't that be amazing if every time you sucked off a guy, you momentarily got his knowledge? Like, not forever, just like a 10-minute download. Just like a... Well, now I know where you put my fucking keys. You'd be like, darling, get your trousers down. I need to go out the bathroom. I know some guys would abuse it, though. Some guys would abuse it. They'd be like, come, darling, come and drink from my salty fountain of knowledge. Please come and drink from it, darling, because fuck me, you need to learn how to park the car. That'd be quite good, wouldn't it? Imagine. History would have changed. Do you remember the Clinton administration? Do you remember why he was thrown out? It wouldn't have happened, because for national security, they would have shot Monica Lewinsky. Angelina Jolie could never go down on Brad Pitt, because if she went down on him, sucked him off and swallowed his DNA, she might get a flashback of Jennifer Aniston's pussy. I have nothing against Angelina Jolie, don't get me wrong. I know she's a big popular thing. I think she's a bit too skinny. I think she is. I think Brad Pitt only puts his cock in her to keep her warm. I was watching this video, this wet lady. I still haven't told the story yet. I was watching this lady. And I was so impressed with what she did. I stopped everything, buttoned myself up, and I went, Stella, come say this! And my friend came in. Now, my friend's a bit girly, and she sort of went, oh, what is it? Is it another wanking monkey? She came and she went, ah! And I went, isn't this woman amazing? And then she said, oh, God, sometimes I let my boyfriend go down on me. Did anybody else spot the grammatical errors in her sentence? Sometimes I let, I was like, I hold him down. She thinks I'm trying to drown him. And then she said, oh, yeah, and if I ever suck his cock... Sorry, I'm getting a memory. Oh, I can remember the smell. Oh, if I ever, like, if it's his birthday or something and I ever suck his cock, oh, and he comes in my mouth, oh, I don't swallow. I said, so what happens to it? Does it come out your nose? No, I could imagine this is what happens, because those things sometimes shoot out at speed. Like, one of them, they've started down here before, and I've been shot in the chin. I mean, I don't know whether it's like some kind of valve that boys have, where kind of they're having sex, you say, don't come inside, and they go, oh, okay, I won't, and then they pull it, and they go, but I will shoot you in the face. I don't know whether they do that, or they have sex, and then they kind of pull out, and they go, I'm so tired, I'm just going to dribble into my belly button, sorry. I can't be bothered. So I said, does it come out your nose? And she said, no, I just spit it out. And I said, okay, you don't do this in front of him, do you? She said, oh, God, yeah, I just do it straight away. I lost my temper with my friend. I said, madam, that is fucking rude. When a man goes down on a woman, he has no choice in what he eats. He usually has to plow down their head first. He can't even take his hands. If when he gets down there, it looks like chewing gum under a park bench. If you've been walking around all day with tissue in your knickers because you feel a bit icky, and then you're not careful when you remove them, he has to munch his way through 2 books of raffle tickets. Depending on the time of month, he doesn't even know if his meal comes with or without an egg. Are you seriously telling me that in the final few moments, the person you love is coming, which is a good thing? You know, they're becoming something else. You're in the background, in front of him, just doing this. I said, young lady, you will eat the meals you are given and you will be grateful. Don't make me wank your boyfriend off into an envelope and then post it to Africa where there are starving children who would love to have just a little bit of protein in their lives. I think that would be a pitiful state all round. Some poor little African child opening. Well, the Red Cross have gone downhill. There's not even any rice in this pudding. Shut up, it's a bit of comic relief. You know what the weird thing is when you you offend someone and you don't know you did it. And maybe because you were traveling through time at the time. Anybody here a time traveler? I could see many of you are. You know when you're kind of, you'll know you're a time traveler. It's when you're there and you're in a pub thinking, this conversation's a bit dull. I want to go to a club and dance. And then you think, wait a minute, I know the chemical equation of how to jump forward in time 30 minutes. And you go up to the bar and you say, hey, barman, 4 Bacardi breezes, please. And then you go, glug, 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 still in the pub. Glug, 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 glug. Oh, still in the pub. Glug, 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 still in the pub. Glug, glug, glug. And then something happens. I don't know what it is, but it's like a... And then suddenly, I'm in a club! And your friend is saying, calm down, we've been in the club for 20 minutes. And you're like, yeah, but I don't remember the taxi ride. Anybody else a time traveller? Oh, hooray! You're all thinking, no, it's called blackout drunk. I prefer time traveller. Have you noticed that if you experiment with different substances, you move at different speeds? I find 4 pints of cider is a time jump of about an hour and a half. And have you noticed how the longer you time jump for, the more souvenirs you pick up? Where you kind of go, da-da-da. Well, I've lost my phone, but I've got a traffic cone. There must be roadworks happening in the wormhole. I've got this black goo on my feet. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming it's dark matter. And I've got a time-travelling companion. I'm going to call you Doctor Who the fuck are you? Don't time travel with tequila unless you've got a PhD in chemistry, because that shit's unstable. When you time jump with that, it's a case of, what the fuck happened to Tuesday? There used to be a Tuesday. I think they recalled it. I discovered that I have a time traveling companion. And that what happened was one morning I kind of woke up and my laundry had been done. I lived alone. I walked downstairs, the washing had been done. I lived alone. The fridge had a big smear of white lard on it. So I opened it, and inside was a kebab. I'm assuming from last night, because it had gone cold and all the lard had congealed on top. It looked like a dog turd in the snow. And there was a note written in front of it in my handwriting that said, breakfast. Drunk Di had been doing the laundry and washing up and making breakfast for future sober Di, knowing how shitty I would feel. What, my puppet? Future hungover Di. Oh yeah, correct my fucking jokes, Jesus Christ. I'm the auditor of your comedy DVD. Where was I going? She kind of followed me. She always held out the best interest for me. Like once, she set me up on a date. It was quite nice. I went out for a little dance, had a lovely time, and then halfway through the evening, can't remember a thing, woke up. That's how you wake up when you're an alcoholic. Sorry, physicist. And there was a warm body next to me, and I thought, oh God, what have I done? And it was my bed. Do you know what I mean? Like, at least it was somebody else's bed. I could have just grabbed my shit and left. Because it's my bed, I've got to wake him up, being do you want a cup of tea? And I had something on my face, and I thought, I can't be bothered. And I just kind of sort of looked round. And he sort of looked round at the same time, because I think I woke him up when I was screaming. And he sort of went, "Ugh." And we just looked at each other, and at that moment I saw a note on my desk from Drunk Di, and the note said, "This is Ryan." "Hi, Ryan." And he looked at me and then at my forehead and said, "Hello, Diane." Because she had labelled me, in case you didn't remember. I was like, why him? And then I realised it's because he was ginger. She was trying to continue the species. It's like, no, it's a recessive gene. If you mate us, we will just end up with our own category at Crufts. Plus, I'm a bit prejudiced. When I see two ginger people kissing, I think it's incest. Don't get me wrong, he did want to mate with me. I kind of wanted to mate with him, but he definitely wanted to mate with me. I could feel the heat off his genitals as he rubbed them on my face. And then I laid my eggs and say, there you go. No. The thing is, though, is that she kind of aimed a bit low. Like, if I was going to, cop off with a ginger, I'd have to go quite high. I'd go for Prince Harry, because he's the king ginger. Ginger is how it's pronounced. And Prince Harry should date me. My name is Diane Spencer. He's never gonna forget it, is he? The problem is, I'm a little bit kinky. I'm like having sex. This is how I do it. I'm a please. I mean, say my name, Harry. Come on, say all of it. All right. Don't cry. Please don't cry. Okay, go round the back. You like it round the back, don't you? Yes, I know. This is now me having sex with Prince Harry, but now he's here. I wouldn't be able to help myself. I'd be like, all right, Harry, now say my name and I'll pretend to defuse a landmine. The worst thing I did was when I actually accidentally time traveled through my sister's wedding. Yeah. Look, it wasn't my fault, okay? Because what can I say? I'm a scientist, and there was champagne in the limo. There was champagne at the church. We hadn't had breakfast because we were wearing dresses. And then we got to the reception. And then my dad did a speech. And it was when he was doing the speech, we actually had food coming. But at that point, I'd only had soup. And I had all these chemicals on the table. And then my dad did the speech. And during the speech, he said, "Of course, this is a day to celebrate my beautiful younger daughter. I do have another daughter, the older one, so hopefully I'll only be paying for one wedding in my lifetime. She's sat over there on the chair. Well, she calls it a chair. We all think it's the shelf." "We've already changed my baby girl's name. Let's change the other one's name. Instead of Diane Spencer, everyone call her Diane Spinster." I was like, pass the wine, I'm a physicist. And then I had blood down my knee and a note saying, "I'm so sorry." And I thought, is that to me? Or am I supposed to give this to someone? So I went to where my mum was, and I kind of knocked on the door, and Mum opened the door like this. "Hello." "Oh." "Well, would you like to come in and we'll tell you what you did last night?" "Thanks." I came in and I said, "What did I do? The laundry? Did I do the dishes?" She said, "No, but you did sort of clean the floor. In that during the disco, you started crawling around on your hands and knees, yelling, 'You should crawl like this. This is what strippers do.'" Apparently, Drunk Di has career aspirations. "You crawled up to your sister and you yanked on her wedding dress saying, 'Crawl on the floor, otherwise he won't find you sexy.'" I said, "That doesn't sound so bad." She said, "Yes, but if you remember, your sister's dress had no straps. You made her Katie Price at her own wedding." Is she okay? She said, yeah, no, she's fine. Because you kept yelling at her, please don't let him do you up the bum. You're my baby sister, it'll make me cry. I'm just looking out for her. That's not so bad, is it? Oh, Mummy, my head hurts. My brain feels like it's shrunk to the size of a walnut. Oh, really? And is your finger like a prune? Did I say anything else? Yes. And now, for you, I would like to reenact the conversation that I apparently had with my mother. Mom, I want to get married. You will, dear, just be patient. You know what? It's because they've all been thick. I only date thick boys, and not thick where it counts. Do you want a glass of water, dear? Let me tell you something. I dated this guy called Ollie, yeah? And one day, I wanted him to go down on me, Mum. Not me, Mum, that's you. I wanted him to go down on me, Mum. But I couldn't be bothered with all the foreplay. I couldn't be bothered, you know. I was horny, not energetic. And I thought, how can I get his head down there? And I had a bag of Maltesers, Mum. And I thought, men like chasing after balls, don't they? So I just got a Malteser and, hey boy, do you see the Malteser, boy? Do you see the Malteser? And he starts doing this. And I was like, where's it going? Where's it going? You're going to follow the Malteser, boy? And I pulled down my trousers and I poked the Malteser up my foof. And then I said, fetch, boy, fetch. And he went for it, Mum. He was straight down there, head first, nodding away. The thing is, this is my trick. I had a trick. I know that the human body temperature is 37.5 degrees centigrade. Chocolate melts at 30. The vagina is absorbent. I was eating the Malteser. He was never gonna find it. He was down there for 40 minutes. Oh, yeah. Can I be honest with you, dear? Is it, yes, Mum, please be honest. She said, I think you better sort of, pack those sort of activities in. I think it's down to shenanigans like that your father and I are both diabetic. Of course, you're young. You've got the grip for a Malteser. No. When you get to my age, you need to work it up to a Ferrero Rocher. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming to my show. Exquisite Bad Taste.
I think Diane tonight was absolutely hilarious. I think she can really capture everything that's funny and especially relate to her as a woman, and I cannot wait to see it again.
Jokes about lady masturbation touch me in a deep and soft voice.
Touch you.
It was very funny. I enjoyed myself immensely.
It's brilliant. I've been to a few now, and each time just makes me want to come back and see more. She's brilliant.
I thought Diane was amazing tonight. She's so funny, and she's the girl that you want to be your best friend. She's just got so much to say, and it's all true and very funny.
Had Had a great time tonight. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. Even better than I expected. It's brilliant.
It's probably like the best show I've actually been to in a very long time. It's actually made me like cackle.
I've never quite known any any comic to be quite as forward as she is, and quite frankly, if more female comics were like she is, if more comics were like she is, the world would be a better place.
Diane is fucking awesome.